You are listening to audio from the Decidedly podcast. This episode is a highlight clip from this week's full episode. To listen in on the complete conversation, see the show notes for the link to the complete show. You can help us out by leaving us a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts. We appreciate every bit of your support. I'm Morgan McKittrick, your producer, and this is Decidedly.
I think that having a clear aim is important, and what the tragedy of what you're talking about on social media is that it distorts our perception of what a clear aim is and what it ought to be. And so it's almost worse than being aimless. It's having the wrong aim. And in a culture of tolerance, we're hesitant to say that certain pursuits and certain aims are less valuable than others.
What's an example of the wrong aim?
The wrong aim would be to pursue something that is lacking in purpose, meaning, and significance, or pursue something that's not real, that's a fantasy, it's not sustainable. So an example, a category or a life that kind of exists within the Venn diagram of both of those is the life of luxury, where you're spending all your time driving nice cars and hanging out on the beach. Well, even if you get to the place where you have the financial ability to attain that, that's not a life you want to live. You don't want to live a life where every day you're driving nice cars, eating nice food, and hanging out on the beach with no purpose and no meaning. Nobody who counts on you, no responsibility. That's not a recipe for healthy life.
I think it's interesting. There's a when you look at the Declaration of Independence, a part of that where Jefferson says, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? And so he put this qualifier on happiness that he didn't put on the other ones, right? Which is the pursuit of. And I think what you're talking about, at least what, the way I look at it, is when you look at creating purpose in life, which helps you make decisions along the way, and the adaptability that we're just talking about, that pursuit of the happiness is what gives you the happiness, right? They're joined together. You can't say, well, I'm just happy. It's the pursuit of it that gives you that happiness, because it's purposeful inside of you, right? And I think a society that's full of people who are pursuing appropriate happiness, which is creating purpose for others, not just happiness because I've got a chocolate ice cream cone, that's going to create a better society for all of us.
Yeah, I can't echo enough, because I spent a good part of my life trying to buy happiness, and I've tried hard, right? Watches and cars and all the things you just said. I acquired all those things to fill a void, because I thought that was going to do it. Now I still have a lot of those things, but there's an attachment to them that's different. My 9-year-old knows more about exotic cars than I do, but that's a passion that he and I now share. And we can go through and look at my buddy's collection and go through and, hey, let's go on a ride. I don't give a if someone is impressed by my car. What I care about is spending time going down in my Mustang with, my old 67 Fastback with my son on a country road on a nice summer day. That is an experience that's like fills you, and that is worth pursuing in the experience, whatever. It has to start really from within, and that's with business, yes, but especially in life and that personal, because I think business is very personal. That if you can start with that core of really what is important to me, my journey, my family, my tribe, like if you can really hone in and laser focus at where you feel in that gut, you won't be led down the wrong path. And it's okay. Some people shame having nice things and going through having resources. Life's hard. I think Grant Cardone, life's hard without money. With money, it's impossible without it. So I'm not discounting it, but do it for the reasons that are core and center to you, right? Like you work hard to have resources, so you have time, right? You don't have to trade time for money, so you can go and take your kid to basketball practice and lacrosse practice. Like those are the things that I think if you could center in on them and understand your why, you will be so much more happy, and and it gives you that purpose that you're talking about.
What do you do to find that for yourself?
So a lot of therapy.
Do you do like talk therapy or?
Yeah, I did. Look, I don't do it. I probably go to therapy as much, maybe like once or twice every couple months now, right? Not as much. I talked about trying to buy happiness for a long time. I went through a really bad divorce, multi-million-dollar and 3-year, just bad thing. But it was great because I'm so much happier now. But I didn't like who I was. I had all the stuff, I had success, but I didn't like who I was. And while I was successful optically, right? Houses and cars and all the stuff, I'd pulled it off from a kid from, not from a lot of means and some struggle and, losing some money and losing a father. I'd pushed through it all, but that I never really looked back and reflected on why I was doing it. I was just always going forward to not really feel. So I was going to therapy probably 2-3 days a week, just really intensive to really ask why you're doing stuff, right? Because if you don't look inward and some people say, oh, they're the problem or this circumstance, like everything starts from within. And then you start to really understand, asking yourself those questions, like, why are you doing this? What's important? What's your motivating factor? That's what started it, right? Probably, 18 months of really intense therapy and that inward looking. Now, it still changes, right? I'm a curious guy. I left Wall Street to start my own thing because I learned very fortunately at a young age, while I was making a lot of money, I wasn't fulfilled. I'm a creator. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are creators. I like learning. I like building stuff. That's what drives me in that constant learning. Now in a part of my life, I'm trying to give back. I like to help charities out that I'm passionate about. I like to do mentoring and, help being soundboards because I'm helping someone, which kind of feels like it's a bit of an obligation, but I like solving problems, man, like most entrepreneurs do. So that to me is really, really fun and kind of gives me a lot of purpose. And now the kids, right? I've got a 9 and almost 5-year-old and another one on the way. So that's my purpose now.
How explicit do you get with it? Do you write down do you have a personal mission statement, personal values that you write out, or is it more of a vague vision that you have?
As far as just
like life purpose.
I don't know that I don't have a mission vision statement for me personally. I don't think it's a bad idea. I think I look at it more of just like horizon based and what do you want to do? Like I'm a big list guy. So on my email, I've got my New Year, goals and what I want to do for 2023. And I probably got that email in my box 60, 80 times, right? Because every few days or few weeks, I'm looking at it, updating the list and kind of going through it.
Yeah.
A big part of what's on that list is what I want, right? And my wants are always changing, right? It's my son's picked up fishing. So now the big priority is building a lake house a couple hours away and doing that. So, okay, I need a few $1,000,000 to build a lake house.
Never built me a lake house.
Did?
Build it for me.
Oh, I didn't build it for you. No, I'm sorry.
So now I got to go and make $2 or $3 million, right? So that's the purpose of going through and hey, what do I want to do? I want to have this experience with my son. Every 5 years, I do a solo trip with my kids, just a one-on-one dad and that individual, for a birthday. So I think my boy will be 10 in end of December. So he's a big car kid and sneakerhead and loves fashion. So we're gonna do Dubai and go, and I love the city. I've done a lot of work over there, so that's gonna be a cool father-son thing. So that's what we're looking forward to.
Those are the best experiences. Shawn did that for me and my sister. And
really,
yeah, it was.
Yeah,
I mean, it was the coolest memories. And I remember, how old is your son?
He'll be 10 in the December.
Yeah. So is this the first
when we started doing that?
This is the first one he's gonna do.
Second one. So the first one was Legoland.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I think we started when I was 11 and my sister was 9. And then my youngest sister started later because she was 3 or 4 at the time. But that was about the same age as your son. And it's interesting because as a kid, from the kid's perspective, I didn't realize that was a really fortunate thing that I got to do until later. I didn't know.
Right.
And I didn't know that wasn't normal. But now I will still look back and we'll be talking, Shawn and I hanging out and go, dude, remember we went to Alaska? That was nuts.
Remember climbing that glacier?
I can't believe
That's so
we
cool.
did that.
Hunting in Argentina.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. That's so good to hear. Because you just have dads have a different role and a different thing, right? I mean, you are always going to be more nurtured by the mom and kind of going through that. But do you guys go to Florida at all? I don't know if you've been to Tampa.
Yeah, going today, in fact.
Are you, so Burns Steakhouse? It's a pretty famous steakhouse.
It's like South Florida?
No, it's Tampa. It's in Tampa.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But anyway, it's that my son and I met some friends, and we a massive wine cellar, and it's a huge deal. But after Legoland, went through, we had a big steak dinner. He's drinking Shirley Temple. I mean, just stuff that you wouldn't do with mom all the time, right? So I think those type of things are great bonding.
Yeah, there's stuff that you can do with dad. And I always think when we did those trips, I had the objective to say, I want to buy these experiences, because you can only do so much with, as you were talking about, Jeremy, buying a watch or a car thing, that's fine, but you can buy these experiences that you can't lose. They don't devalue those experiences. Well, they become more valuable as time goes on, right? I mean, in other words, the experiences you have become more valuable to you, particularly if they're learning. And I always had the idea that I wanted those to be new experiences where we would do something new, learn a new task, experience something new, go somewhere where we'd never been, so that the learning was there and the bonding was there.
Yeah, you always said we're going to go somewhere we've never been and do something we've never done.
Yeah.
So my first one, go to Argentina. He had been to Argentina, but I had never been. And then we're going to go dove hunting. Again, he had been dove hunting, but I had not. So it was not only a new experience, but a new place.
Yeah, this was your first time dove hunting.
Oh, yeah. Ruined it for me now. I mean,
you sound
like 1,100 dove one day. And we come back to Texas. He goes, hey, let's go dove hunting. I'm like, oh, it's not going to be the same. It's not.
You might get 12.
Right? If you're lucky.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But those experiences cause you to challenge yourself, cause you to seek and to learn. And you become a broader based, knowledgeable person because you have experiences, and which is so much more valuable than people who just know about it, right? Which is even more valuable than people who don't know about stuff. But you say, yeah, I've been climbing in, ice climbing in Alaska. I know what it's like. I know how I can do that. Or I've been to Morocco, and you've done those things. I think it just gives you so much more experience and capability to interact with people through life. It's going to help you.
Yeah.
Thanks for making the great decision to listen in to this week's episode highlight. If you want more of what you just heard, see the show notes for the full episode. As always, for the latest decision-making tips, find us on decidedlypodcast.com or on Instagram @decidedlypodcast. And be sure to sign up for our weekly newsletter from the link in the show notes. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review as well. We read all of your comments, so if you learned some decision-making tips today, let us know. Until next time, this is Decidedly. Insights, advice, and comments provided by Shawn Smith, Sanger Smith, and speakers identified as part of the Decidedly podcast should not be considered recommendations. Speakers not identified as members of Decidedly are expressing their opinion, and their statements should not be construed as reflecting the views of the Decidedly team. This podcast is produced solely for informational purposes, not personalized advice.